I woke up with a message for you. And would it be okay if I shared it with you?
Yes.
You were born with a divine purpose. You were born with divine light. It is your gift. And it is your right. And it is your responsibility to shine that light in the world. Some of us have been crafting a vision at this event. Anybody here been crafting a vision besides me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you need light to see? Do you need light to see your vision? It would come in handy. Yeah. So you use light to see your vision. And that's all well and good that you have a vision and then maybe you see it. But what is in the way sometimes of putting it into practice, of manifesting your vision? So we can leave here today with an idea of what's possible for our life in this world, with an idea. Will an idea make a difference? Tell me, will an idea make a difference?
Yes. Action. Yes. Put it in. No, not unless you put action to it.
That's right. If you put action to an idea, now we're talking about making a difference. Yeah, so there's that little funny thing in between an idea and a thought and what happens in reality. Okay? So anything that is real in this world was first a thought. The chair you're sitting in was first a thought. Someone thought it, they drew it, they designed it, right? And it became real. Your vision is now a thought, and it has the possibility of being real, but there might be some little thing that's in the way of your making it real. And I assert that that possibility that might be in the way is perfectionism. Who here likes to get things right? We talk about right action. Right action is laudable. I'm not speaking about straying from a path of right action. I'm talking about straying from a path of obsessive compulsive behavior around right action. I know a little something about obsessive compulsive behavior. There's something that I really want you to get. With the divine light that you were born to shine in the world, you can suffocate it. You can suffocate that light with tightness, with rigidity. And I'll share a little bit more about you share a little bit more about me with you. I'm not going to share about you with anybody. That's your business. Yeah. About what I did to suffocate my own light. So, has anybody here ever gotten advice from a parent and then about, I don't know, a couple decades later, you say, oh, that's what she meant. Yeah. Me too. My mother always said to me, lighten up. Oh, I would just cringe when she said, lighten up. And I cringed because I was a really serious kid. I had high expectations for myself. I enjoyed excelling. You know, they pat you on the head when you're a kid and you get good grades and you pay attention in class and you produce the results that the teachers are looking for. You get positive reinforcement. Any children in the room? Am I wrong? You get positive reinforcement for doing things well. So I wanted lots of, I'm getting cheering from the back of the room over there. There's this way that we think that if we're doing things right, that we're going to get rewarded, we're going to get attention, love, support, approval. There's nothing wrong with that set of beliefs, only they can be twisted in a way that becomes unhelpful down the road. So here I am, a little teeny child, already high expectations for myself, and I was only about this high off the ground. My mother found me in my room crying, about 3 years old, a pair of socks beside me. She asked me why I was crying, and I said, apparently, because I don't remember this, I said something to her about I couldn't get my socks on right. And there they were. I couldn't work it out, like how to get socks on my feet. I'd seen her do it dozens of times, and I couldn't work it out for myself. And so I was just in despair about that. And I've thought about that for years. Like, so what? It doesn't matter what it is in your life. I might say so what, but it might be important to you that you get it right. So let's talk about just like what perfection is. What is perfect? Perfect, one could say, is an ideal. Yes? But according to whose standard? Whose standard generates your sense of what is ideal? Would it be your standard? Yeah. Whether you adopt it or invent it, it's your standard and it's your view. And I had a very specific view growing up about what perfection was. It was really clear to me what was right, what was wrong, what I was going to do and not do, my way, and I loved it when I finally learned the phrase highway. I adopted that one. Yeah, so I did things in my world in a very narrow field of correctness, really tight, really suffocating. Imagine you have a flame in your hands. Imagine that it won't burn you. And you hold it tight. A flame, a real flame, needs what to live? Air. So if you hold it tight, what happens to the flame? It dies, it suffocates. And that's what I was doing to myself. I got so tight that I stopped eating. From ages 10 to 16, I didn't eat very much at all. I was about a half to a third of the size I am now. Weighed about 75 pounds when I was this high. Wearing gym shorts when I was in 10th grade that were purchased when I was in 3rd grade. Not a healthy place to be. But I was very specific about what would go in my mouth. Until a doctor said, you are very specifically going to die if you don't begin to eat. And so I did. Naturally, you can see that I did. But meanwhile, what I was doing during those years of tightness was I was waiting. I was waiting in the shadows, waiting to feel okay, waiting to feel worthy of expansion. Energetically, physically, it takes something to be in the world. You get noticed, don't you? If you don't want to be noticed because you don't feel like you're worthy of it, what do you want? You want to shrink. You want to get small. You want to hide. Hope people don't notice you. Hope people won't see your flaws. Waiting in the shadows. So it may not be this extreme for you, but there might be something going on in your life right now for which you are kind of on the sidelines, checking it out. See how safe it is to put yourself out there and be seen. Maybe you'll be ridiculous if people see you. Maybe you will be unacceptable if people see you. In this talk today, we're going to be talking about what you can do specifically to create a feeling of acceptance so that you can step out of the shadows and shine your light. So this whole idea about worthiness became a big issue for me. Worthiness is what? Worthy of love. Yeah. So I thought that if I were more perfect, then I would be worthy of more love. Perfection equals love. Does anybody here see a problem with that equation? If you don't, you're in the right place. Yeah. So I really got great grades, almost perfect grades. Went to almost perfect school, almost perfect record, got an almost perfect job, had an almost perfect resume to get that almost perfect job. And I do say almost because there's always somebody who's going to be a little bit better, but I didn't want them to get ahead of me, see? When I first learned about GPA in high school, I was like, wait a minute, how long have you known about GPA? Why didn't I know about this? It was like a race to like get extra credit to catch up. If somebody's got a 4.0, So the thing is that even though I achieved this status of perfect resume, perfect job, almost, I was working about 100 hours a week in the almost perfect city in the world, New York City, and getting about 4 hours of sleep a night. By the time I got home, it was almost time to wake up again. And in those 4 hours, I would have nightmares of papers drowning me, wake up sobbing. And cry for about an hour. Thank goodness for Visine. Squirt some of that in my eyes and make it to work. Start again. Until I couldn't. And I had to stop. And I gave up this dream of perfect resume. I let it go. Whew, what a relief, right? So was I ready for imperfection then? No. I just shifted my focus. You see, the perfectionism isn't about the thing which you wish to be perfect. It isn't about, like, when that project's complete and it's perfect, then I'll be over it. Like, then I can move on with my life. When I'm perfect, then I can move on. It's not ever about what you're wishing to perfect. It's about you and a point of view. So I just shifted my focus. I found something else to try to be perfect about, and that was my body. Body been an issue since I was 10, I already explained that. And I was past anorexia, but I wasn't past having problems with my body. What I wanted really was to be perfect with my food intake, so I studied really hard on nights and weekends to learn what to eat. I became a health counselor, health coach, got my certification. I knew exactly what to eat. I just didn't know how to stop eating it. And so my weight would go up, 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 and I would be very ashamed. I weighed a lot more than I do now. And I would force it down. Bulimia helped. Laxatives helped. Compulsive exercise, 4 hours a day helped. But that stuff wore me out. I do not recommend it. And so if you could imagine for yourself, like, the gaining and the losing of the weight, maybe some ladies and a few men in the room could relate to, like, wanting to lose a few pounds. Anybody here want to lose 5 pounds? Let's just be honest. Yeah. How about 20 pounds? How about 2,000 pounds? I know somebody in this room who lost 2,000 pounds. In fact, more than that. Me. Yeah. And you may like what you see up here in this moment, and if you do, thank you. But what you don't see are all the stretch marks. Got a lot of stretch marks. I got a lot of evidence to remind me of what it's like to gain weight and to force it off again and again and again. The thing is about when you're, like, being super, super specific about trying to be perfect with your food, at least if this was true for me, was it ended up being, like, really small plates. And I got really, really hungry, and it felt like food prison. And I was the food police. Don't eat that. Eat that. But just a little bit. Food police for myself and for you too. What are you eating? What are you putting in your body? That's poison. See, I knew this from being a health coach, right? It's poison for sure. It's going to kill you. Don't eat it. And you can only live like that for so long. So if you've got a prison and you're the one who made it, do you also have a key? Yeah. So every now and then I would let myself out of that prison, and woo, I was like a drunken sailor on shore leave. Woo! Yeah, that was fun for a while until the shame set in, you see. And in this miserable state, I would look for something to just kind of light up my world, but it didn't feel very light. It felt like more darkness, more shadows. Now I was just waiting for me just to have a stable, healthy body, waiting for me to just be normal, and then I would be happy. And I figured it was somewhere out there in the universe as a perfect food plan, if I could just find what it was. So I read a few thousand books, took a few hundred programs. And it just, just never worked out that way. Because, when I was so tight, like in that state of looking for perfection in my world, food was a bit of a relief, frankly. Has anybody here ever eaten something and been like, oh, yes, oh, woo, oh, it's worth every calorie, yeah. Well, food became like that for me frequently. It was an addiction. And my wake-up call was Merrill Lynch, at the time, the top bank in the world, fired me for food addiction. I was like, this is noticeable to someone? And it was, apparently, according to their lawyers. I didn't sue them. They just let me know they had a whole team ready to go just in case I thought about it. Yeah. So there I was dealing with, wow, I got to do something. I've got to figure out another way to get relief from my misery of my world. And it doesn't need to be food anymore. I will not do drugs. I will not be an alcoholic. I got to find something else. I got to find consciousness. Thank goodness that became my choice. And what became my relief was allowing. Allowing. We get so tight about things. Things need to be a certain way. They need to be. They should be. I can make them that way. I can use my will. Reverend Michael Beckwith talked about that last night. I will use my will to have it this way. It's a rigid way to live. Instead of allowing what is to be. And then from that space, the other source of relief, choice. But see, if you allow all that is to just be in your life, you got a lot to choose from. Allowing all that is to be, and then choosing from that, choosing powerfully. So instead of waiting in the shadows for things to look a certain way, I felt like peeking my head out a little bit, see what's there. You've noticed that something about me right now maybe is a little different than the person I'm describing. Am I a little bit lighter? A little bit? Have I lightened up a little bit? The way I've done that is by embracing imperfection. So I've spoken about allowing, I've spoken about choice, but how do you do that? How? What's the mechanism? It's not just an idea that I want to share with you. It's something you can put into action. And I'm talking about embrace your imperfections. Look at those things about you that are not perfect and take them on as being perfect. I was in New Zealand years ago and I was looking for some jade. I was in this shop in Greymouth in the South Island of New Zealand. And a jade merchant was the person who owned the shop, was sharing with me some certain special pieces. And there was a piece I was interested in, but there was a big old crack in it. And I said, this one's flawed. I don't want this one. He said, oh, that's not a crack. That's a feature. He may have been pulling the wool over my eyes. I don't know, but I bought it, and it changed my life. He said, yeah, there are no flaws in jade. There's no flaws in anything that God made. There are features. And for the purposes of the conversation here, I'm speaking about them as imperfections. So, I want you to imagine a vessel, ceramic vessel, like clay, fired in the kiln. I want you to imagine it being very solid with a lid. Can you picture that? Yes. I want you to open it up, take the lid off, and lower a candle into it. Put the lid back on. What happens to the light? There's no light. Now imagine you had a vessel with cracks in it. Cracks. And you put that same light in there. What happens? It shines through. Isn't it beautiful? That's what your light does with you and your cracks. Because my friends, God made cracks. God makes cracks continuously, adds them to our features, our list of features. God makes cracks. You have them. You have these beautiful imperfections. And when you allow your light inside of you to shine anyway, and through them, the world gets to appreciate you. And through those same cracks, you can receive the light of divine into you. It is your access to divine. And it is the world's access to you. Are you with me? Yes. There is power in imperfection, my friends. There is opportunity in imperfection. So if you've been passed out a votive candle, if you've been handed a votive candle, I invite you to take it out now and to turn it on. Turn your light on. Turn your light on. And I invite you to, I just realized I didn't bring one up for myself. Isn't that funny? Thank you, Greg. Thank you. I invite you to hold the candle in your hands in this position. And I invite you to stand and to say with me, I am divine.
I am divine.
I am the light.
I am the light.
And over your heart, I am perfection.
I am perfection.
I am divine.
I am divine.
I am light.
I am light.
And I am perfection.
And I am perfection.
Well done. And remember that when you hold the light tightly, what happens? It snuffs out. Notice the cracks. Notice how beautiful your fingers are. Notice the features in your hands. You are truly beautiful, just as you are. You don't need to wait until things are perfect to step forward, to shine your light. You do not need to wait to allow the world to see you, to shine your light to the world. It is said that waiting is the opposite of living. And living is shining your divine light. Thank you. Thank you so much. I am so grateful for you. I am truly grateful for you.
Can you please repeat the message that you received for us this morning?
The message I received is, you were born with a divine purpose. You were born with divine light. It is your gift. It is your right. And it is your responsibility to shine your light in the world.